he had a choice on how he was going to respond to the rest of his life. And it's the same with you. And don't let Satan win. Honestly, what you need to do is say, let's start a compassion ministry. And what we're going to do, he has 1 billion stars he's in control of. He can deal with your, and God's saying, I don't want that. I want you to treat me like you would treat your best friend. Those are real feelings that we think we got to keep ourselves like, shh, no, God, where we can't, no. Okay, let's see, Dusty is our 16-year-old. I got something for you. Like if your kids are really busy, like he's in basketball all the time, we never see him. We just don't. So the other day I texted him our home address. I said, in case you've forgotten where you live, this is the address, okay? It was so cute. I read this the other day, and I thought this was so funny. It was just a little joke, and then we'll actually get started, because we have a huge lesson today. A mother went into her son's room on a Sunday morning, and she said, hey, let's go. It's time to get out of bed. It's time to go to church. And he said, I'm not going today. And she said, well, why not? And he said, well, because I don't like them, and they don't like me. And she said, well, let me give you 2 reasons why you are going to church. 1, you're 47 years old, and 2, you're the pastor. I thought that was great. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's talk about being discouraged in life, okay? We are now on, lesson 5 of our Discouraged series, and what we're doing, for those of you that are watching us online, Roku, DirecTV, apps, any way you found us, if you want to know more about our ministry, go to womensbiblestudy.com. That's how you can find out everything you want to know about us. And I just lost my whole train of thought on that one. Oh, we're on part 5, discouraged. So what we're doing is we're going through different men in the Bible that were discouraged, because what we're finding out is there's a lot of Christians that are very, very discouraged in life. So we talked about discouragement over, is God fair or not fair? Last week we talked about discouragement over sin. If you have fell into sin at some point in your life and you just can't seem to get over it, we want you to get over that. Today we are going to talk about your purpose in life, because so many people wander around and they're saying, I don't even know why I'm alive, okay? I don't even know why I'm here. And your life is you feel like you're bored. I'm kind of bored. There's no purpose, there's no meaning, there's no anything, and nothing seems to satisfy us, okay? And I think that's what Solomon is going to teach us today. I realized this, what kind of a nation we were, as I was watching America's Got Talent the other night. I don't even like those shows at all. Rob turns them on. We always turn them on towards the end. This guy, I can't remember what he did. He was some gymnast or something. He's like, I don't know, standing on his head, I don't even know what he was doing, okay? And this is what one of the judges said to him. That was really good, but people are just going to want more. They're just going to want, and I'm thinking, what more can he do? Like stand on his head on the Empire State Building, like without something holding on? Like, who knows? But that's just the nation that we live in. Nothing ever satisfies us. We want more and more and more. So today we're going to talk about what is the purpose in life if you're a follower of Christ, okay? So today I want to start off and I want you to ask yourself this question, and you can just think the answer. You don't have to yell it out. And this is the question. If you were to say, for me to live is blank, okay, you need to fill that in. What do you live for, okay? What is it that makes you get up in the morning? And some people will say, for me to live is my children, my husband, my boyfriend, my kids, my grandchildren, my job, my hobby. Like, you just fill in whatever that blank is. And I just want to tell you right off the bat today that if you have filled in the wrong answer, which we'll find out towards the end, you're going to be discouraged in life, because none of those things will ever satisfy you. Now, they're all good things, okay? Kids are good, husbands are good, children are good, grandkids are good. But if you're focusing your life on those things, you're going to be discouraged in life, okay? So, most people if you ever read stuff on how to put a lesson together or how to put a sermon together, which of course I apparently don't, because I don't do anything anyone ever says to do. I know just from hearing people, they say, you always need to have like the punchline at the end, and you need to work up to it and get everyone all excited, and okay, well, I don't do that, so I'm giving you the punchline right now, okay? So for some of you, you're going to be like, oh good, if she gives it to me, then that means I can go home early, okay? I don't have to stay for the lesson. But here it is. And I'm going to tell it to you over and over again today. Look at Matthew 22:37 in your handout. And Jesus said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend the whole law and the prophets. And so here's what we're going to talk about today. That the only way that you and I are going to have purpose in our life is if this is how it goes, God first. He has to be the center of everything in your life. And this is like an end thing, but I'm going to do it at the beginning apparently. But I can't remember which one is which one. Okay, here it is. If you are one of these people, that this is you, okay, and you have your money and your children and your work and your sports and your hobby, I think it's kind of hard for everyone to see that. Those things will never, ever satisfy you, the way that this system is set up, okay? If God is the last, because that will never satisfy you. But if you do it over here, where you have me, and then you have God, and then now everything in your life goes from God through all of the children and the grandchildren, and the hobbies and all that. And that's the only way that you are not going to be discouraged in life. Now, today we're going to talk about a man by the name of Solomon, because he struggled greatly with this whole idea of what is my purpose in life, and why is it that I do all these things, and I have all these people in my life, and nothing ever satisfies me. So we're going to talk about Solomon, because if we would have asked him, Solomon, what... fill in that blank for us. For me to live is, he would have said, for me to live is money, women, parties, drinking, building. That's what he would have lived for. Okay, that's what he said. But in his very final conclusion, the answer that he came up with is the answer we just gave you. If you do not love God first and love others and love me last, then you're going to be miserable most of your life. Now, let's talk about who Solomon is. Last week we talked about David. In front of you, I was so frustrated. My copy machine just went, and so everything is really, really light on that genealogy right there. It's going to be really hard for you to see it, but it's kind of a cool genealogy. Now, Solomon is the son of David. Now, last week we talked about David and Bathsheba, and I want you to see how dysfunctional David's family was. Okay, if you lived in this kind of a family, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I need to go to a psychiatrist, okay? But here's the deal. You can see David, like there's a top line, then there's a next line. There's one blue person and the rest of them are whatever pink or whatever color that is. That's David. And all of those pink, that's his wives, okay? And those are all of his children below them. And it's crazy. So what you see here is that, like if you look very far to the left, David married a woman by the name of Maacah. Maacah had Absalom and Tamar. We talked about them last week. Absalom was the son who decided to take over his dad's throne, okay? Has a sister named Tamar. Okay, the next woman has a son by the name of Amnon. Amnon was the one that we told you he loved Tamar, so he decides to rape her. It's a big, long scenario. The other brother, Absalom, ends up murdering him. It's just this whole crazy family. Okay, so you kind of get it. Now, you look very far down here to the right, and you see that Bathsheba is his last wife. I did not realize this. Bathsheba and David had 5 children together. Okay, one of them, of course, died because that was because of his sin with her. But one of his sons was Solomon. Okay, now Solomon had to be pretty young because Bathsheba seems to be his last wife, and he spent the rest of his days with her. And then you've got, so Solomon was one of their offspring. Okay, now here's where we're at in this story. David is getting very, very old. He's the king of Israel, very old. It's time now for him to die. Okay, so he's laying in bed. It's, you can just picture hospice is there or whatever. And so his son, Adonijah, which is from one of those women, like the third or fourth one over there, one of those women had a son by the name of Adonijah. So Adonijah decides, I'm going to be king, okay? And so he goes to Joab, if you remember him, from last week, and a high priest, and he said, I need you guys to support me. I'm going to go out and try to be king, but you guys come alongside of me. And they all said, great. So he throws this great big feast. Everybody shows up, except Solomon was not invited to the feast. So all of those brothers and everyone was like, yeah, let's get Adonijah to be our king. Well, the problem is Nathan hears about it. Remember, Nathan was the guy who went to him last week and told him his sin. Nathan hears about it, goes running over, knock, knock, knock. Bathsheba opens the door. He's like, Bathsheba, you got to talk to David. Like, your other son, keep forgetting his name, Adonijah, has a big feast and he's trying to become king. And so she's freaked out, so she runs into David and she's like, David, you can't let this happen, because if Adonijah's king, he's going to kill me and he's going to kill Solomon and our children. So that's the kind of crazy dysfunction going on in this family. So David decides, nope, today's the day. So he goes ahead and he says, go out and anoint Solomon king. Okay, so that's how Solomon starts off. Everyone's going, long live the king. And at this big feast, they're all like, what just happened? And they're like, well, Solomon's now king and you are not, Adonijah. So Solomon starts out really, really good. And I want to read his prayer. It's in your handout right there. Because you're talking a nation who loved David as a king. And now his son is coming in. David's passing away. And David's young. And so this is what Solomon says. He says, then Solomon said, you have shown great loving kindness to your servant David, my father, according as he walked before you in truth and righteousness and uprightness of heart toward you. And you have reserved for him this great loving kindness, that you have given him a son to sit on his throne as it is this day. Now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. Yet I am but a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. Your servant is in the midst of your people, which you have chosen, a great people that are too many to be numbered or counted. So give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, to discern between good and evil, for who is able to judge this great people of yours? It was pleasing in the sight of the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. God said to him, because you have asked this thing and have not asked for yourself long life, nor have asked riches for yourself, nor have you asked for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment to understand justice, behold, I have done according to your words. Behold, I have given you a wise and discerning heart, so that there has been no one like you before, nor now shall one like arise after you. I have also given you what you have not asked for, both riches and honor, so that there will not be any among the kings like you all your days. If you walk in my ways, now always remember that, if you walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and commandments, as your father walked, then I will prolong your days. So God says, not only am I going to give you so much wisdom for you to be able to deal with the Israelites, but I'm going to give you wealth and respect and everything that goes along with that. And the problem is that he was supposed to always keep God first, and somehow he decided, I don't want to do that anymore. And that's what we're going to, it's a slow fade, and we all know that, okay? So he should have remembered in Deuteronomy, look what Deuteronomy 8:17 said. And beware lest you say in your mind and heart, my power and the might of my hand have gotten me this wealth. You should earnestly remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he swore to your fathers as it is that day. So what we see is that Solomon starts out really, really humble, loving God, but he realized with all this wealth that God had given him and blessed him with, he said, you know what? I can buy anything I want now. And the very thing that threw him on this path of frustration and disappointment was his whole idea of just walking away and not following God any longer. Okay, so we got to get that. Now, here's some modern day examples. For those of you that want to, like, you buy your lottery ticket and you're convinced that that's going to make you happy, I want you to imagine yourself winning the lottery. Okay, and you're like, yay, I can buy anything, I can do anything, I can go anywhere, and that would be a really, truly happy day. Now, I'm going to check in and show you a couple of the winners of the lottery. William Bud Post won $16.2 million in Pennsylvania, and within 1 year, he was $1 million in debt. Okay, this was so funny to me. His girlfriend sued him for half of the money. His brother put a hitman out on him, thinking that that he would get this crazy stuff, okay? And he said, I wish that it would never have happened. It was totally a nightmare, okay? Then we have, if I could turn the page. Oh, he's living, by the way, on $450 a month and food stamps right now. So that's what happens. 2004, Sharon Tirabassi, a single mother who was on welfare, cashed a check for $10 million. She bought a big house, fancy cars, designer clothes, lavish parties, exotic trips, handouts to family, loans to friend, and right now she's back riding the bus, working part-time, and living in a rented house, okay? Michael Carroll won $15 million. He spent his money on cocaine, parties, hookers, and cars, and he's back to square one as being a garbage man 5 years later. Okay, so for those of you who would love to try that and go, no, I would not be that way, okay? What God decided to do was put this great story in the Bible of Solomon, because Solomon won the lottery, basically. He had more money than anyone could ever imagine in this world, okay? And God says, I'm going to put this story in here because I want you to know and I want you to follow Solomon's journey and understand that nothing in this world will ever satisfy you. Nothing, okay? Now, the book of Ecclesiastes is a journey. It's kind of like Solomon's record or his diary or his journal. And it's his search for the meaning of life. Okay, now, this is what struck me. It has nothing to do with the lesson. But for those of you that have kids and grandkids, and maybe they're gone off to college or they're doing their own thing, okay? Here's what I realized, and it was a good reminder to me. Our kids have to find their own faith in God. Okay, and we got to really get that. We can only do so much. We tell them about Jesus, we make sure they go to church, we send them to church camp, but ultimately, that's as far as we can go. We pray, we ask God to do it. But when I saw Solomon's life, I thought, here you go. Solomon's not only like the preacher's kid, he's the king's kid, and the king was kind of a preacher, so you've got this is a big deal. But you would think that he would have just sat around and said, Dad, impart to me all this wisdom, okay? And I'm just going to listen to everything you say. But Solomon had to go out and figure it out for himself. And so our job is going to be just to make sure we're in the background praying for our kids, but know that they have to figure it out on their own. I had lunch with Cheyenne this last week, our daughter, and she said the coolest thing to me, out of the blue. She didn't even know we were talking about this. And she said, Mom, the greatest thing that you and Dad ever taught me was that I had to find my own faith. I said, really? And she said, there's so many people that go to school and they think that because their parents are Christians, then they're Christians. But we've always told the kids, you've got to go figure this out yourself, and you have to come to saving faith in Christ by yourself. It's not us, okay? You got to do that. But it was amazing that Solomon, the wisest man in the whole world, had to go on that journey too. Okay, so that kind of gave me hope. Now, Ecclesiastes starts with a phrase that we're going to hear a lot, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So that's what Solomon says in his book. And it's really interesting because the word vanity means futile, worthless, and this is where I want to head, empty of significance. Okay? And I think that's where a lot of us, I just feel empty of significance in my life. Now, everything that Solomon thought would make him or give him significance was all the wealth, the job, the vacations, the travel, the building, the homes, the barns, the women, the parties, everything that he thought. He walks away and says, it's all vanity. It's all empty of significance, okay? Now, in the end, Solomon realized that after having all those things, that he said, you know what, there has to be more to life than just this. Now, we're going to start out here. It must be Ecclesiastes 1:1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem, and this is what he said, vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Now, some translations will say preacher, some will say teacher. Either way, a preacher or a teacher, it's their job to teach about God, teach about life, teach you the way that you're supposed to go. But I laughed this week because I thought, if any one of our pastors went on a journey like Solomon did, they wouldn't be pastoring anymore. They'd be so kicked out of church. But what Solomon wants us to know is that I've tried everything. And he really wants us to know that so that we don't try it ourselves. Okay, I was thinking about this. It's kind of like that commercial that always has that thing on the bottom that says, don't try these stunts on your own, okay? And Solomon's like, don't try any of these things. Just, I promise you, take my word for it. You don't need to go down the path I did. It's empty of significance. It'll only get you in trouble. So he's trying to stop people in the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, look at Ecclesiastes 1:1. He says, what advantage does man have in all his work which he does under the sun? A generation comes and a generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. Also the sun rises and the sun sets, and hastening to its place it rises there again, blowing toward the south, then turning toward the north. The wind continues swirling along, and on its circular courses the wind returns. All the rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they flow again. All things are wearisome. Man is not able to tell it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. And we'll stop there. Here's what Solomon comes to the conclusion of. Life is short. Okay, it's just short. Generations come, generations go, the sun rises, the sun goes down. One day we're all going to die, okay? And most people aren't going to remember us. I put a big a photo album together for my family, and saw my dad's parents, okay? I don't know who they are. I don't even know their names, okay? And as sad and as depressing as that sound, I'm hoping that thought alone should change our life, okay? And that's what I'm hoping to do today, is say, look, yes, in this world where it's just come, go, the ocean goes back and the river goes back and the sun comes up and down. In all of that, we are living here, and God says, I have a purpose for your life, for that short span, okay? Don't waste it. And we learned that with Joan Rivers this week, with the death of Joan Rivers. And the sad part about her is she had no eternal plan for her future whatsoever. She cared only about this world. She, in one of her interviews, she said she lived her life based on her calendar. And if her calendar was empty, she knew that would be devastating to her. Okay, so her whole purpose in this life was just for what was here. And this is what Solomon would say to her: Joan, you have lived 80 years, 81, I don't know how many. But I want to give you a little clue here. In 6 months, a year, no one's going to really remember you. And no one's going to remember those 3 billion jokes that you have, stashed away at your house someplace. They're just not, okay? Another comedian's going to show up and take your place. And that is really, really sad. But here's the key, okay? Her life had no significance for eternity. And that's what we got to get. Okay, what is our purpose in our life? If it has nothing to do with eternity and pointing people to heaven, it's meaningless. It will be meaningless. It's just you show up and you die, okay? So there has to be a reason for our purpose in our life. And so this is step number 1. In finding your purpose, this is what you have to do, is you have to find out and do something that's meaningful and lasting and something that will affect the eternity of those people around us, okay? And here's a bunch of different ideas. Maybe you coach your kids' dance team or your kids' soccer team or whatever. So get to know the kids. Invite them to church. Save a little savings account and pay for their church camp. Do something with your life that will point other people to Jesus, okay? Maybe you paint, you sew, you do crafts, okay? When you say, I'm going to help somebody. I don't even know what that looks like yet, but I'm going to take my money and I'm going to go sell my crafts and I'm going to put it in a little account and I'm just going to say, God, what do you want me to do with this, okay? How can I take this and affect eternity? And for you, maybe you give your crafts away. Maybe you go down to a homeless shelter, or you do something that gives your life away, and in the process you can tell people about Christ, okay? Maybe you go camping and the neighbor kid down the road doesn't have a dad, so take him. You do something that's going to affect someone's life. Cheyenne came to us the other day and she's like, Mom, I have this friend and he doesn't have a laptop for college. Okay, well, you basically can't do college without a laptop, okay? And so it was shocking, so I thought, oh my gosh, it'd be cool if people would be like, hey, I just want to donate a laptop. Maybe I have an extra one around the house. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like there's really a big need out there. We just need to find it and then bless people with the things that we have. I was thinking about, for our big Chad Williams event, if you don't know that, he's our Navy SEAL that's coming in. Well, he'll be here in December. Three-part series here for us. That night we're doing a big event, okay? And we're trying to get people to buy a table, okay? A table is $400. Each seat will be $50. And what we want to do is give these tables away to people. It could be your husband's friend, okay? It could be a high school kid, college kids. We want to get, because it's going to be a very big evangelistic outreach for these kids, because Chad is kind of an evangelist at heart. So it's like, okay, what can I do with my money that will help somebody else find Jesus and find eternity? And maybe you're here and you go, well, I live on a small income and I don't have extra money. Okay, we got time. Okay, so go figure out what it is in your life that you can do to volunteer your time, to give your time away, because that's the only way that's going to give you meaning and purpose in life. Now, it was so cool because I had lunch, or I had breakfast or coffee with a girl this week. And that's what this reminded me of. Wherever you are in your life, she went to jail, okay? And it was so cool. Now, her parents raised her in the church, she knows about Jesus, got into some trouble, ended up in jail. And the coolest part of the story is that in jail, she said she had this girl that she met, and she had like, I'm trying to remember what she said, like SS or something tattooed on her, which was meant like Satan's servant, Satan's something or other, okay? So this girl that went into jail, she started telling her about Jesus, okay? Well, now it's changed this girl's life for eternity. She's in jail, she's in prison now, and she is going to Bible studies, and they have all these plans for when she gets out. out. But see, that's what I'm saying. No, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have a bunch of money. You could be in jail and sharing Jesus with somebody. So wherever you are, what is your purpose that you have to do? Because the only way that you and I are not going to be discouraged and we're going to be encouraged in life is to do something saying, God, my life is yours. Now, what do you want me to do to affect somebody else's life for eternity? Okay, that's the only thing that's going to satisfy us in life. Second thing, get a perspective, a really good perspective on why you are where you are, okay? And that's really hard because Solomon just told us all things are wearisome. Okay, they just are. And some people wake up in the morning and they're like, I hate to go to school. I hate to go to my job. I hate my job. I hate to wake up to my 2-year-old that drives me nuts. I hate to wake up to my teenager who doesn't want to get out of bed. Okay, what we need to do is get a whole new perspective on why we are at the place that we are in our life, okay? Because I was thinking about this week. I thought, here's Solomon. He could do anything he wanted to do. He could buy anything, and nothing made him happy. No matter what. You know what I mean? So so you got to change your perspective. And that means sometimes that the place you are right now is a way to give your life away. Example, I thought about this yesterday. Dusty plays basketball, and he's going to be trying out for the Liberty basketball team. In the process, he's got a lot of friends on the team. And so his other friend, Connor, they started inviting all the kids on the basketball team to church. Now, all these kids are going to church with them. It's the coolest thing. But Saturday night is our big night at our house, okay? All the team comes over. Whoever wants to come over, there's 12, 14 kids that come over. They stay up half the night. We feed them pizza. We feed them ice cream. They swim. They play basketball, whatever they do, okay? But here's the thing. Like, it ruins my Saturday night, okay? I know that sounds like me, but I can't sleep. You've got 12 kids, and they're all loud, noisy, and, so I've got the music, Pandora's up, Yanni playing, and really, really loud, because I'm like, I got to drown it out. So I get no sleep, okay? But I have to change my perspective on how miserable that is. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look at this. These kids now, like 2 of them came over Saturday night before church. And I go, what do you guys do? He goes, get ready to go to church. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever, okay? So change your perspective and realize that where you are, God wants to use you. If you're a mom with little kids, go join some moms clubs. Get to know them. If you're, find out wherever you are. If you have a job that you hate, okay, this reminded me of this. There's a waitress that works at Red Robin. I have a son that really struggles with his faith. Like, it's very difficult for him to have faith. And so one night, he goes and he watches God's Not Dead. Okay, he watches it at home. Called me the next morning, and he's like, oh my gosh, Mom, that was a really, really cool movie. It really helped me. He goes to lunch with some friends. Okay, they all have tickets because they all buy separately. The waitress walks up, hands him his little receipt, said, I want you to know that your lunch was taken care of. And at the very top of it was written, God's Not Dead. Okay, and he's like, what? I mean, but to him, it was this huge moment, and it was the waitress that did that, okay? And he said, Mom, we never even talked about the movie. Like, she didn't even know. It was just like, it was one of God's little ways of saying, look, I want you to know I'm here. But he used some girl that probably hates her job, like, I hate being a waitress. But you can be used wherever you are, and I want you to remember that. God wants to use you. Thomas Edison said this, opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work, okay? And that's just so true, okay? Opportunities, like I'm telling everyone our pens, like we have the cutest pens. They say womensbiblestudy.com on it. Okay, and I told you this last week. But this is my new thing. Take a bunch of them. Wherever you can find them on the table, we've got a bunch of them out there. I keep them in my purse. We're at the movies the other day. And anytime I talk to someone, like even if it's in a line at the bank or wherever, like if I have an actual conversation, I pull one of these pens out. Because a lot of people work. And they can't come to Bible study. And so we were at the Good Egg the other day, and our waitress left, and so I walked up to the front, and I said, hey, would you give this to our waitress? And she goes, well, what is it? And so I gave her a pen, too, and she goes, I work all the time. This would be my only church. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. People all around us in your sphere, they need to hear about Jesus. And a pen, and if they don't like it, they have a pen, whatever. And then they're always reminded of women's Bible study. But the point is that this will get them to where they can't show up here because they work. But maybe they can come to know Christ and grow in their faith on the internet. Okay, so it's kind of a really good thing. But anyway, I was at the movie theater, and and a lady, I just started talking to her like, hey, what are you going to go see? And so she told me, and then we kind of met back up at the Coke place, where you're getting your Coke, and I had to ask her more questions. And I started walking to my movie, and I thought, no, that's a God moment. So I walked right back and said, you were going to think I'm the weirdest person. Here's a pen. Don't even know if you go to church, but if you ever want to know about God, here's a website. And so that's what we do, okay? So that's, no matter what your sphere is, that's where God has placed you. All right, so Solomon, the work thing that didn't work out for him, he said that's vanity of vanity. So now he goes on this journey of pleasure. Look at in your handout, Ecclesiastes 2. And I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure. So enjoy yourself, and behold, it too was futility. I said of laughter, it is madness, and of pleasure, what does it accomplish? I explored with my mind how to stimulate my body with wine while my mind was guiding me wisely, and how to take hold of folly until I could see what good there is for the sons of men to do under heaven the few years of their lives. I enlarged my works. I built houses for myself. I planted vineyards for myself. I made gardens and parks for myself, and I planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made ponds of water for myself from which to irrigate a forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves, and I had homeborn slaves. I also possessed flocks and herds larger than all who preceded me in Jerusalem. I also collected for myself silver and gold and treasure of kings and provinces. I provided for myself male and female singers and the pleasures of men, many concubines. Then I became great and increased more than all who preceded me in Jerusalem. And at the very end, he says, thus I considered all my activities which my hands had done, and the labor which I had exerted, and behold, all was vanity and striving after the wind, and there was no profit under the sun. Now, I was thinking about how many I's in there. I did this, I did that, I did this. Okay, when you make yourself life about I and me, you're going to be miserable, okay? And we got to really, really get that. There's no eternal significance in anything that Solomon was doing. So, I always say that if working and all these things didn't make him happy, then there has to be more to life than there is. Because Solomon was this role model for us for excess, okay? And if you think that you need to go on this, he's telling you, please do not do that, because he's got more money. He's been there, done that, okay? But what things do is bring us pleasure for the moment. But it's not lasting, okay? Material things get old. You get new style of cars. You get this brand new car, and you're like, oh, in a year, it's like a new style. The iPhone, what are we on now? 6? Okay. I had a hard time getting past my flip phone. I'm just not ready to change yet, okay? But that's the thing. It's like that's how life works. You'll laugh. I think I told you this. I took a sewing class once when I was young. I'm sure I've told you this story before. I made a pair of pants. We were supposed to make a pair of pants, and they were navy blue, and they had white elephants on it. Okay, now who could imagine that I would wear a pair of pants that had white elephants all over blue? I did, okay, I made them myself, and I was very, very proud of it, okay? So, shopping this summer with Cheyenne, I don't think we were Forever 21. We were walking through, and up on the wall, you'll never believe it, a pair of pants with what? Elephants all over it. And I'm like, see? Okay, but Cheyenne's going, Mom, isn't this cute? She's showing me all these outfits. I'm like, I wore that in 7th grade, okay? Because that's what happens. Styles go, they come. So if you're worried, if you're thinking like, oh, I gotta make my life about that, it's gonna change, okay? My friend Erin, her mom kept all her stuff from like 40 years, okay? Erin can go in the closet and wear it now, okay? Because that's just what happens. So what Solomon did is he moved on now to the thing that was his biggest downfall, and that was relationships, okay? And some of you are there, you're like, I want to get married, because that's going to make me happy. I just want friends, they're going to make me happy. I just want, no, they're not, trust me, okay? It doesn't happen that way. Look at 1 Kings 11. But King Solomon defiantly loved many foreign women, the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, the Hittites. They were of the very nations of whom the Lord said to the Israelites, you shall not mingle with them, neither shall they mingle with you, for surely they will turn away your hearts after their gods. Yet Solomon clung to these in love. He had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned his heart from God. Okay, now, a Sunday school child said this. They asked him who Solomon was, and he said, Solomon was the son of King David. He said he had like 300 wives and 500 porcupines. He goes, they told us in Sunday school that he was really wise, but that doesn't sound very wise. Okay. I thought that was cute. Solomon was rotten. Okay. He just went after these women and did whatever. But here's the bottom line. It's a slow fade, and you know that. I told you when we went on vacation this summer, we'd wake up in the morning, and normally we like to just sit on the patio and read our Bible and pray and do what we normally do. No, I'd be able, let's go get hot chocolate. Okay, let's go ride bikes. Let's do anything but read the Bible. Okay, and it was just the more I didn't read my Bible, the more I didn't really care to. So I get that. Okay, and then we would go riding bikes, and it dawned on me the first day. I'm like, I have to go buy a bike, and I have to ride every day now. But after about day 4, I'm like, you know what? This is kind of boring. Saw the same thing yesterday. So that's just life, okay? Hot chocolate. I had this hot chocolate fetish, okay? We went to find the best hot chocolate. We went 7 days we were there, 3 different places. The first place I'm like, oh, this isn't that good. Okay, go to a different place the next day. I told Rob, we got to go to this one place because they have Italian chocolate. I think I told you this. I walk in there and I'm like, Rob, I'm so excited for this Italian chocolate. They ran out of the powder, and so I watched him go in the back and pull out a big thing of Nestle's powder. Nestle's, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. This is my Italian chocolate that I wanted? Okay, but see, that's just life. Like, we're always looking for something that's going to be better and more chocolatier and okay? And nothing ever satisfies us. And this is why I think, and this is what hit me this week, and this is kind of the whole thing I want to get through. I think the answer is because God made this world so that nothing would satisfy us except him. Okay? And that's why we're discouraged and we're frustrated with life, because we're pouring our life into everything that doesn't matter eternally. Okay? If I lived here 80 years and no one ever came to Christ, I would be so heartbroken to be like, what did I live for? Okay? And that's what we have to learn, that the sad part of sometimes what Solomon did is going on that road to things that we think we want. We trade that for this awesome relationship with God. And the time we could be spending building our relationship and helping others come into Christ, we're just over here doing meaningless stuff for us. Okay, and we need to watch for that. Hebrews 2:1 says this: since all this is true, we ought to pay much close attention than ever to the truths that we have heard, lest in any way we drift past them and slip away. Okay, and that's what Paul's saying. Is this a warning? We have to be very, very careful not to drift away, because if Solomon did it, and we saw David do it last week, it's really easy to do. And when we start putting other things in front of God, or people in front of God, or things in front of God, we're always going to live a very discouraged life. That's just what's going to happen. Christian psychologist David, I put this in your handout, David G. Myers came to this conclusion. He said, the things which enable you to be happy are not how much money you make or how many possessions you own or whether you are highly educated or whether you're too old or young. Myers has discovered that while per capita income in America more than doubled in real terms between 1957 and 1990, the number of Americans who reported being very happy remained the same at 1/3. The American dream, defined in terms of material things, has become the American nightmare, or at least a bad dream, Myers concludes. Never have we been so self-reliant and so lonely. Never have we been so free, and yet our prisons are overstuffed. Never have we had so much education, and yet there's this high rate of teen delinquency, despair, and suicide. And never have we been so sophisticated about pleasure, and yet our marriages are just falling apart, okay? Because what we learn from Solomon is this: without God, nothing will satisfy us. Look at how Ecclesiastes ends with Solomon, Ecclesiastes 12:13. And this is Solomon's final conclusion after everything he realizes. The conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep his commandments, because this applies to every person. Okay? Now, the meaning of life has to begin and end, and here's some things. Now, this week I was trying to figure out what makes people so happy, and these are all good things, okay? But if you live your life, if they're your whole reason for living, then you're going to be miserable, okay? I always say money, okay? For those of you that have money, it will never satisfy you. Money's great to have. It's awesome. It takes away a lot of stress and pressure. But we had money. My husband sold a couple businesses. We had actually millions of dollars in the bank. And then with all the crashes, the stock market and the real estate, and we had to put all of our money into our business to keep it going, and we end up with $262 to our name. Okay, money goes away like that. But so many people, like, we could have just fallen apart. Our whole life is about money, and then we just want to die, okay? But you can't put your life into things like money. Children, they grow up and they get married, and you have no say-so in their life, okay? You just don't. And I know that sounds good, but if your whole life is about my children, okay, we'll never forget that. We go, hey, you want our advice on this? Not really. Okay, my wife gave me advice. My husband gave me advice. And like, we're a non-issue anymore, okay? And that's how it's supposed to be. But if you're living your life for your kids, it's not going to work out that well for you. Grandchildren, oh my gosh, you even have less of a say-so with grandchildren. I learned this. They have these babies. They swaddle them. Okay, now we swaddled our kids for about a day. You put them in that thing, and then you get them all nice and cozy, and you put them in bed. Okay, we're talking months. Okay, these kids are like, and I'm just like, don't do that. So we were at the cabin one time, and they were like, hey, we're going to run to the store or something. Will you watch the baby? He's asleep, or he's trying to go to sleep. Okay, he's screaming his head off in there. I walk in, he's like, bah, bah, and I was like, that's why he needs freedom. So I gave him freedom, okay? I went and swaddled him, and then he cried the rest of the time. The parents got home, and they're like, what did you do? And I'm like, I gave him his freedom. That's what I did. I unswaddled him. And they're like, well, no, that doesn't work that way, you know. So you learn really fast that you don't tell your grandkids or your children like what to do with their children. Like, you just kind of go, okay, whatever, swaddle them till they're 50. I don't care at this point, okay? So that's kind of a funny thought if you really think about it. Okay, sports. Okay, maybe you're into sports in your life. I just love sports, and I'm training my kids to be a football player. Well, all the sports our kids did, volleyball, basketball, football, I don't remember one game, and I don't think they probably do either, okay? It's just something passing to pass the time away, okay? So don't put your life in that. Work. We were watching a show the other night about a fireman in Chicago. And the one guy, his whole life has been wrapped up in, I just want to be on this squad at the fire department. And he got hurt on the job, and they gave him 3/4 pay, and he was up on top of a building in Chicago getting ready to jump off and kill himself, okay, because his whole life was all about this job, okay, and that's just not going to satisfy. Friends, okay, some of you were like, I just want my friends to satisfy me, okay, it's not going to happen, okay. I was laughing. My phone went out. We had to switch the phone over, and some of the contacts didn't go over, so I said, well, this would be a good time to clean up people we don't even know anymore, okay? And I had this list this long. By the time it was all done, it was like this long. I said, I don't think we have any friends, okay? But I realized that people just come and go in and out of your life, and that's just life. So if you're basing your life on friends, that's what I tell Shai all the time in college. She's in college, and all the people she knew in high school, she was so depressed this summer because she was like, Mom, they're just nowhere around. I'm like, and they won't be, okay? And I don't even mean that mean, but that's just life. So don't put stock in that. Houses fall apart. That big rain. Oh my gosh. Dusty's like, Mom, my roof's leaking in my bedroom, you know, so we had to put a big pan all over the house. We had these pans where our roof's leaking. I'm thinking, you know what, if you just lived for your house or thing, it just doesn't work, okay? So that's what works right here, is when we say, you know what, God, I'm giving you my life, and then I want you to take care of my money for me and my children, and I want you to place me in the job you want me, and I want you to use the sports, our kids' sports or whatever that is, to glorify you, and I want you to use my hobby, okay? And that's how you're going to find your purpose in your life, is to take everything and move it into the spiritual realm. Okay, let's talk about I don't know. Let's talk about California. I realized this in California this week. I don't know. Okay, so we learned this about this whole Solomon thing and wealth and how it never makes you happy. We went to California when I told you my parents took us, and we got these rooms that were like right, of course, at the front so we could see the ocean. The first night we got there, they're like, oh, your rooms aren't available. We're like, what? Sorry. Well, we realized later that there was this wedding, okay? And this wedding was the most spectacular thing I've ever seen in my life, okay? Somebody said it cost $500,000 for this wedding. Okay, this is how big. Like, it was out front. They had all these arches with chandeliers, like outside by the ocean, and then they had all the flowers were spectacular. On the back of the seats, they had all these, like, feathers, plumes, unbelievable. In the place where they had the reception, they had taken the cake and they had suspended it from the ceiling, okay? They had dancers that were actually like practicing dancing so that they could put on a show. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. So the next day, we got our rooms, and we realized that the reason why is because apparently when you spend $500,000 on a wedding, they're going to take your rooms and dump them and give them to the parents or whoever. And so they left after the wedding. My sister goes to her room, and she goes to put something in the little safe, and it wouldn't open. And she's like, well, what the heck? So she calls down, and she's like, my safe won't open. So the security comes up, opens the safe, and in there is syringes, cocaine, okay? So whoever had this big, crazy wedding the night before, they were on drugs. And I thought it was just a reminder of what Solomon said. You can have all the money in the world and spend $500,000 on a wedding, and you're not satisfied with that. So now you got to go do your drugs, and now you got to, and it's just a nightmare. So here's the deal. Matthew 22 says it, and we said it at the beginning. This is your purpose. And Jesus said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And on these two commandments depend the whole law and the prophets. Love God first and pour out our love for others. Now, I want to go back to the lottery winners real quick, and I want to talk about some of the people that actually did good with their lottery money. There was a British couple that they actually got $251 million. That would be super duper awesome. But here's what it afforded them to do any good deed they wanted to do. And that was their heart. They would buy prosthetic limbs for people. They helped a Scottish tennis player. Like anything that somebody needed help, they poured their money into that, and they were perfectly satisfied. Another couple won $11.2 million, and they decided that they were just going to give it away. They said, why? We've never had it before. Why do we need it now? Okay, so they gave their money away to like churches, Red Cross, Salvation Army. They just gave it away. Perfectly happy doing that. She said, what you never have, you never really miss. There was a pastor in a struggling Baltimore parish. He got in the offering plate a $30,000 lottery ticket that someone had scratched off. Like they saw it was $30,000, and they just put it in the offering plate because they said, you know what? God needs it more than me, you know. So they were able to help a lot of people. Sheila Ryan won $55 million. She kept a low profile. She started a foundation, and she helped people with overdue rent for single mothers. She supported low-cost housing projects. She died. She left her foundation. It continues to go on and on and on. And she said this today. She said this before she died. She said, I thank God every day that I have the ability to help others, not that I won. She never said, oh, God, thank you that I won. She said, oh, my gosh, God, thank you that I get the joy and the privilege of helping others, okay? And that's the difference. You have this life of excess with the lottery winners at the beginning, and at the end going, you know, it's not about me. If I make it about me, I'm going to be miserable. I wonder how many times I can drop that today, okay? C.S. Lewis, it's your last thing on there. C.S. Lewis said, hope means a continual looking forward to the eternal world. It does not mean that we are to leave the present world as it is. If you read history, you will find that the Christians who did most for the present world were just those who thought most of the next. It is since Christians have largely ceased to think of the other world that they have become so ineffective in this. Aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you will get neither. I thought that was brilliant. I'm like, I love that saying. He's saying, you know what the problem is that we care so much, and Christians now are getting to the point where they care so much about this world we've missed that God is saying, no, I've placed you here for a purpose. Now, where I want to go with this, and it's the very end, and we have to go, I know that. I put a test in front of you, because here's the deal. I was thinking about the kind of legacy that you and I are going to leave. And I thought about Billy Graham this week, and I thought, you know, Billy Graham is going to die soon. And when he does, do you think he's going to regret anything in his life? Do you think he sits back saying, vanity, vanity, it's all vanity? I think he's saying, you know what, I spent my life pouring out my heart to help people come to know Christ. And because of that, he's not going to leave this world sad. The world hasn't been vanity to him, as it would be for most other people. Now, I gave you a spiritual gifts test. This comes from spiritualgiftstest.com. For those of you watching us online, we will have this underneath our handout section for this lesson, Discouraged Lesson 5, and you can download this. Here's the deal, what you do. You take it, you answer these questions, it tells you what to do. 0 is never, 4 being yes all the time. I do that. So like, let's say question number 1, and I'll show you the very back. There's a chart right here. And so what you do is you'd fill out, okay, like here's a question. I am skilled at organizing people to accomplish many different tasks and objectives. So you'd write, is that 0, never? For me, it would be 0, never, okay? So I would put 0 on my number 1. Okay. 2, I can easily determine whether a statement is true to Scripture or not. Okay. Now, would that be rarely, seldom, most of the time? So you just fill out this whole chart, and then you come down here, and whichever one you have totaled the most, that is the spiritual gift that you have. Okay. And that is something that God's saying, I have given you this ability. It could be wisdom, it could be miracles, it could be mercy, it could be you have the gift of knowledge, you have the gift of helping people, you have the gift of evangelism. Okay, whatever that is. And that's what we wanted to say today is take that and take the test and then say, okay, now I know where my spiritual gift lies, and now I know what I need to go do in order to make my life count for something, okay, and to give me purpose. Because God is making a family to spend eternity with Him, and He has decided that you and I, people living in this short amount of time on this earth, okay, we can waste it away, or we can say, God, what can I do to further your kingdom, to bring more people into that kingdom? Because you and I are the only way that people are going to know about Jesus. Okay, that's how God did it. He said, I'm placing you, I'm coming into your life, now you go out and tell other people, okay? And that's the thing, is if life is discouraging to you, it's going to continue to be discouraging and meaningless and purposeless until you say, God, my life is yours. What can I do to you, for you to help other people come to know, for eternity that will matter to someone's life eternally. You also have a book in front of you. I want you to read that if you can. If you don't like to read, just leave it, and we'll leave it for somebody else. It's so cool. It's called Insignificant. I just found these last week. Super duper excited. I got a really good price for them. Why you matter in the surprising way God is changing the world. Why you matter. Because you do matter. You do matter in this whole scheme of eternity, okay? You have a job. Find out your spiritual test. Read this book. He ended up working in the inner city churches in New York. Really, really tough job. And just wanted out. And he learned one thing. It was what we talked about. Love God first, and then love all these kids. And wherever your realm is, that's what's going to make you not be discouraged. God, thank you for your word. Thank you for the life of Solomon, his life of excess that makes us realize nothing will ever satisfy us until we give everything to you. God, help us to learn how to do that, to make you the center of everything, to stop looking at those things that we think will make us happy, but instead look to you first and let you give us the gifts from there. Thank you for these women, for those watching us online. I pray you'll change lives today, God. And for those living in this futility of the things that Solomon tried to make him happy, I pray, God, that they will move out of that and give their lives to you. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Just to say, God, I'm adding you into my equation. I'm adding you into this problem. And when God had a purpose for his pit, just like he has a purpose for your pit that you're into, he's not going to let you down. When you believe the Bible and the Bible alone, I said, that's what we... Suddenly one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, I don't really have animosity towards that person anymore. But I promise you that I think today you'll be really, really encouraged at the very end, because I learned something I never even thought of.